Hey everybody, welcome to FabFit Friday. I'm sorry I'm a little late today. My daughter called me last minute and asked me if I would drive her over to drop her car off and drop her off at the rental place to get another car while they're fixing her car. So I ran a little late on that. I'm sorry. But I am super excited today because I have made so much progress on my V-neck top that I started a long time ago. Like, I can't remember the date that I made the pattern, but I've been playing with it and I want to show you a few different versions of what's been going on. So I am wearing my second try at fixing this top, and I want to show you what's going on with it on my dress form on the first version I did. So I'm going to show you that. I'm also going to show you how I fixed the issue of sewing a straight edge to a bias edge. And I'm going to show you a top that I made with same front, but I got rid of the side seams. So I have all sorts of fun to show you today, and then I'll show you how I drafted them. Ooh, Mary's here. Mary, you're going to be super excited. We are so bold and red. Oh, Diane says, I was in the middle of watching your new presser foot video. Oh, that video was so much fun to make, and my dad got such a kick out of it. He was reading all the comments that people were thanking him for giving me the little foot. If you didn't see this video, this foot is a must-have for your sewing room, and it's relatively cheap. I found a generic version of it for $11.99 on Amazon, so I included my Amazon affiliate link for that. Oh, look, it's Diane, and Mary. This is so much fun. All right, so let me just show you what's happening. All right, so this was my first version, of the top that I'm wearing. So let me just move it over here so you can see. And what I want to show you, this linen is the linen I used from Fabric Mart to make, I used it to make the first just scoop neck bias top earlier on, and I used it to make the straight of grain top. So now I only had scraps left. So what I did was, I don't know if you can see it, but I put a seam from here and it goes straight down to here, to the side seam right here. So there's a V panel in the center front. So there's a left and right side front pieces that create the V neckline, and there is a style line that's basically a V. Let me see if I can, I don't know, I think you can see it. All right, let me just stop and say hi to everybody. Hey Jason, welcome. Mary says, does the bottom of that new foot swing in both directions? The bottom of this, all right, let me just talk about this for one more second. So the bottom of this, move that out of the way for a second. All right, so see this here, you can control how hard it's pressing against the table by adjusting this screw. So you can see if as I'm doing it, it's getting higher. See how it's high now? That's for thicker fabrics, and you can still clamp onto it. That's going to hold the fabric in front of the presser foot. And then this screw allows it to slide this way. And then the screw that goes here on your sewing machine will allow you to slide it this way. So it's fully adjustable. Plus, I didn't realize it, but this thing cranks out too. So if you wanted to move it here, you could as well. I haven't tried doing that yet, so I don't know about that part yet. But basically, this makes a wonderful seam guide slash holding your fabric slash all that fun. So definitely check that out if you missed my video on that. Check that out. Hey Phyllis, first time joining live from California. Welcome. Hey Janie. Hey, Pat. Hi, Cindy. Heading to lunch, but can catch you for a few minutes. Yay. All right, so see, this is the V-neck top that I made first. And again, it's got those style lines. It also has side seams here. So there's a side seam. And then what I wanted to show you in the back is, this is bias, one piece bias back, two piece straight of grain upper back. Notice what happened when I sewed the straight of grain to the bias. I'm ending up with these puckers along the straight of grain piece. And I think that's because these pieces were the same measurement when I sewed them together. So what I did to fix it on this version is I made the top lower edge a total of like 3/8 of an inch shorter on this side and 3/8 of an inch shorter on this side. So 3/4 of an inch shorter than the edge of the lower bias piece. So I had to stretch the bias. I'm sorry, I had to sort of ease the bias into the shorter top piece. So I want to show you what happened there. Mary says it will fit my machine if that bottom swings down also. I think, look at the video and I show where to screw it in, and you need a hole on your needle plate to screw this on. So check that out, Mary, and see if you think that's going to work for you. I did a whole tutorial on how to attach it and how to use it on Monday. And the name of the video is Cool Tools, the presser foot, all one word, presser foot. Let me see. Oh, Pat's here live finally, yay. All right, so see the back of this. Now what I want to show you is this one that I'm wearing, same shirt. Now I did a couple of things to it. First of all, I think you can, I'm wearing little shorts, sorry, but what I did was I wanted to get rid of a little bit of this fullness because I felt like the red one was a little bit too full. So what I did was, oh, sorry. What I did was I actually pleated out 2 inches at the hem to 0 at the point. I can't get this to fit here. Hold on. Sorry. All right. So I basically went from 0 here and I basically took out 2 inches at the hem here. So I took out a wedge of fabric here. And I think you can see this has got a lot more fullness at the center front than mine does. I don't know if you can see the difference, but this is 4 inches of less ease in the front on this top. So I made that adjustment. Then in the back, I want you to notice my back view here. Notice how the back seam between the upper back and the lower back is now smooth. Okay, so you can see. So see, I'm talking about this seam right here. So see how now it's nice and smooth? Okay, so I did that, and what that did was it, stretching the bias on made a smoother seam. Now, the other thing I'm not in love with is, I'm not in love with the way side seams sew on the, when you're sewing through the bias on the, you know, straight vertical direction across the bias. I don't like the way the side seams are coming out. So my new goal is to come up with either a way to make all the seams be a straight of grain edge married to a bias edge, or just have all straight of grain edges. Let me stop and see here. Okay, so Mary said, saw that, thanks, still need that bottom to swing down. All right, at the end, Mary, I'll pop it on my machine and we'll see if I can get it to swing down for you. I will try that for you in a minute. All right, Tana says, I bought the gadget you were showing. My machine doesn't have a screw hole to fit. I need a longer screw, but I taped it down and it works well. Great for long seams. Oh, good. I'm glad you figured out how to do that. You know what I was thinking too? Little command strip dots. If you put a command strip dot on your machine, you can use it to hold that foot as well, I was thinking. All All right, and then Cindy can see the difference. Yay, Cindy. Hey, LB, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I think I got to say hello to everybody. So the next thing I want to show you here is, let me show you on the table, and I was sitting on it, so I created a huge, wrinkle in the middle of this third shirt I want to talk about today. So let me just show that to you. Hold on. All right, so this shirt right here, you can see I was sitting on it. Same shirt that I'm wearing. Okay, so you can see, I think you can see the V detail now. But what I did for this shirt was I literally got rid of the side seams. So if I turn it to its side, you can see that the V seam right here goes all the way to the hem now. Okay, so basically I taped the pattern pieces together and I extended that V to the back of the garment. So I want to show you what that one looks like. And I also, on this version, I also got rid of the seam between the front and back, just for something different to try. So this is a one-piece back, and it's easy breezy. And the only seams to sew this together are the bias, well, the straight of grain seams that start at the tip of the neckline, and then they go wrap around to the back like this. Okay, so that's how I did it. I'm going to show you how I did that in a minute. But let me just put this one on so I can show you. Bobbin Sew is here. It's 5:20 in the morning and you're here from New Zealand. Oh my goodness, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for waking up bright and early to join me. Janie says, what material is this? This is one of the linens I got from Fabric Mart. This is a rayon linen blend. This is a little bit closer fit than the straight linen. So it falls a little bit closer to the body. It's a little bit softer. Oh, for once I'm not fed up with hubby's snoring waking me. I get to see the live. Oh, yay. Well, funny story. This morning when I woke up really early, I heard this horrible thunder and lightning storm. And I got up and I got dressed and I heard torrential rain. And I thought I heard water pouring into our basement because our bedroom is in our basement. The floor was wet on the other side of the basement, not our bedroom side, but the other side where the laundry is. And so I got upstairs, I made coffee because I didn't want to wake my husband up. I wanted to let him sleep. So then by the time I went back down, he was awake and he was already shop vacuuming up the water. So we did have a little bit of a mess this morning, but it was a thunder and lightning woke me up this morning. All right, so I'm going to put this version on. Again, same fabric as this one. It's a linen rayon blend, and I'm just going to try it. Oh, Mary says that shade of red really looks wonderful on you. Thank you, Mary. I am embracing the red. I love this color. I thought I was not going to like it, but it's almost like an orangey terracotta color in real life. I don't know what it's showing up for on your screen, but let me show you this version now. Just going to hop off so I can stick it on. Put this over here. This one's going to look like a wrinkled mess because, like I said, I was sitting on it. But I think I'm pretty happy with this, too. So here's how this one looks. So again, we have, it fits basically the same. I do think I want to put the seam back in the back, though. But this is what I'm working on. And of course, my goal is to make this into a dress in addition to a top. But let's look at the inside of this. Oh, it matches my glasses beautifully. Oh, and Beverly is your name. Okay, sorry. Okay, Beverly. Welcome, Beverly. And, oh, Cindy says this one looks, oh, it looks more full in front. Um, it may, but actually it should be less, uh, it should be less full because when I put the side seams together, I actually had to get rid of some of the ease to match that up. So it shouldn't be fuller, but I think what's helping the movement is when I turn to the side, see there's no side seam. It's all one piece of fabric, front to back. So, I mean, it does fit differently. I can feel, it does feel maybe a little swingier, but the volume of the fabric is the same because I actually made it a little bit less. Let me see. Mary says, I like that flowy style, especially in the heat. Oh, and Cindy says maybe it's flowy. I think it is flowier because there's no side seam to weight it down on the sides. I think that's what it is. Oh, and Beverly says it matches my glasses. See, I am embracing my red, so I am kind of excited. So that's what I'm working on. And, you know, I'm really excited about all the stuff I'm learning in addition to just making these. So let me just switch, not that one, my table view again. Oh, thank you. Cindy says it's beautiful. Thank you, thank you. So this is how it looks on the inside. And I want to show you, this is a pretty, there's some interesting topics I want to talk about here. I want to show you, I want to talk about this first. See this wrinkle here? So when I wear this for an extended period of time, it starts to pull on my lower front armhole, and it also pulls a little bit in the back. So what I'm thinking about with this is my body is literally pushing it down like this. So my guess is I either need to scoop that out some more to give my body more room or a deeper hole for my arm or the base of my arm to sit in, or I need to lengthen it at the shoulder to let that down, because clearly my body is straining against the armhole here. So I have to work on fitting that. And we'll see how this looks as I wear this version while we're on. We'll see if it does the same thing. So this is another thing, you know, my favorite thing to talk about is pants fitting, right? So one of the things I was talking with one of my sewing friends about was, if you take your pants off and you're fitting pants, and let's pretend this is a crotch curve, if you've got these stress wrinkles along the crotch curve, this is telling you your butt needs a deeper hole to sit in, right? So that's why I was fascinated when I saw it on my armhole, and I'm like, oh, I see, I can see that this is, my body's pushing this down, so I obviously need a deeper hole there for me to sit in. So I'm going to be interested to see if that happens on this version as well without the side seam. All right, so let me just see here. Pat says the front armhole coverage is different in each of these, of the three. In quilting, when I join bias straight of grain, I make an SL adjustment to lighten my presser foot or use a Teflon foot. Oh, that's a good idea. Phyllis says the seam in the back seems more flattering. I agree with you. I think it gives it more shape and more design, and I'm going to put that back in my final design. I was just playing with making it all one piece. But I can still keep I can still lose the side seams and have that seam back there. So I think I am going to put that back. All I had the fruit punch, welcome, says, I've been struggling with sleeves for 2 weeks, saw your tutorial last night, found all the answers I've been looking for. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so happy that my sleeve series helped you, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Cindy says, I have to get my food. I will watch the replay. Thank you so much. Oh, You're very welcome, and I'm so happy you dropped in live too. Thank you for spending a little time with me. Susie says, I love the idea of cutting without side seams. Please show how to cut this version. I'm going to in a minute. And Pat says, the second one armhole looks best. Yep, we're going to compare that in a minute. I want to see if it crinkles up like this one does. And Tana says, the armhole looks larger in the one you were showing first. Are they the same size? Okay, so those are all excellent questions. So let's just look and see what's happening here. So when I put my arms down, up and down, you can see I have ease, right? There's ease here, right? So it's not that it's too tight, but also I'm not getting the creaks I was getting when I had the version on with the side seams. So let me show you how I put it together. Maybe the side seams, the way I put them together, made that work. And actually, I took out a little bit this way when I put the side seams together. So I'm going to show you the patterns, but I'm just looking at how it's fitting. And this seems to be fitting so much nicer. And the only change I made was to get rid of the side seam. So I'm going to show you that in a minute here. Could you show where the seams are in number 3 again? Number 3, was that this one? This is number 3. I'm wearing number 3. The only place there are seams in number 3 is, let me just go back over here. All right, so let's look at this inside out because we can really see the seams inside out. And I also want to show you how easy the construction is going to be here. Let me make this a little bit lighter. I'm going to blow it out to make it the seams really obvious. So you can see here that on this version, in the front, the seams go from the tip of the neckline down to the side seam. And then there's another like 5 inches of side seam. And then in the back, there's my across straight of grain bias, center back seam on the straight of grain. And then there's also a side seam here. Okay, so this is one that had the side seam. The one I'm wearing is exactly like this top, except there's no side seams. And this seam just continues straight to the back like this. It just keeps going like that. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. So let's look at this. Is, whoa, now I got to make this darker here. Hold on. Okay. All right. It helped immensely. I'm sending all your vids to my friends who also started keep up the phenomenal work. Oh, thank you so much. All I had the fruit punch. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for sharing my videos too. I really appreciate it. Mary says, what a change in color when you have it on. It's red, and on the table it's pumpkin orange. It really is more of a terracotta than it looks on the monitor. I can see how it's looking, and it looks a lot redder. Okay, so I'm going to fold this in half. Let me just open it up. So of course my daughter, who's a Star Wars nerd, said that I made the Alliance logo. I don't know if you can see it, but the Alliance logo in Star Wars kind of looks like this. See? So this is the pattern. I'm going to fold it in half to make it smaller, so you can see. And what I did was, right here is where I joined my armhole, and I'm going to show you how much I overlapped. Let me just grab a Sharpie. So basically, here is the overlap. So I actually got rid of So that's where the edge is on the underside piece. So you can see this wedge right here, that's part of the armhole. So I basically cut that off. So I lost almost an inch at the base of my armhole. So I've made it smaller and it seems to be fitting better, which I find kind of weird. So really all I did was lay it here. And then when I got down here, I just kept going. I just made it straight so it goes all the way to the back. And then my front piece looks like this. And you can see the way so it goes on like this. So you can see that, oops, I'm traumatizing my pattern, hold on. Let me not rip that. Alright, let me just tape this back up here. I don't want to lose my nice point. Alright. Alright. Okay, so if I fold this in half, you can see that this all lines up. And I made sure that my front and back were exactly the same. So you can see I kind of pin them together here. Alright, and then this piece is the center front piece. And it's folded in half as well, but you can see it fits right here. So the whole, and you can see this is where the side seam was right here. So you can see I just added this little triangle to the front because I cut it off of the back. So that's how I got that to work. And so if you open it up, that's what the center front piece looks like. And it's just a big honking triangle. And I mean, look at how wide that looks. Remember, I actually, let me show you on the original. This is my original pattern. And I can show you what I did. So what I did here was I took off most of the center back seam allowance. So I got rid of a 1/2 inch here, almost a 1/2 inch to make it shorter. Okay, so that's my upper back piece with the seam allowance. Here is my side front piece. And the serendipity of this whole thing is, the reason why I ended up creating this pieced front is because I didn't have enough of my original red linen to just cut them out all in one piece. I had to put together, you know, I had to find little spaces where I could cut all these out. But remember, I was worried that I wasn't going to like this V neckline. Well, come to find out, I love this V neckline. I love that it's so high up. So I did not need to scoop that out. Because when I was working on it, I was questioning whether or not I would like that, but I do like that. You can see I added a seam allowance here, so it sews to the V. And then here's my V, my original one. So you can see how this goes like this. Right, and then the side seam continues on down there. So that was my original piece, but what I wanted to show you was on my original piece, you can see I overlapped this much. Remember I told you I took some out? So all of this has been removed from the pattern between the dark red one and the second red one. So that's where I got rid of some of the ease. So it wasn't quite, it was actually more like 3 inches, not 4 inches. So I exaggerated a little bit there, but I did get rid of all of that. And then here is my original back piece. So I've got both of these to play with. What I'm really going to try to do is make some version of, I want to make some version of this with the seam in the back with no side seam, and then I want to try to figure out how to lengthen it into a dress. And I just want to update you on this. If anybody saw this, this is the book I'm using. My friend Julie Ann wrote this with Susan Lenahan. It's an excellent book, and it's all about creating a bias tube, sewing it together on the straight of grain, and then making garments from it. So, and this is where I got the idea to insert the godet last week. Remember when I inserted the godet into the shirt to make more ease at the hip? Those instructions are in here. It also shows you how to make a tube less wide if it's too big for you. And I added a new link if you want to get a signed copy signed by both authors and have it be spiral bound. I put the link to her website, and you can order that version of this book from her directly. I feel kind of sad that I didn't notice that, because I would have liked a signed copy that was spiral bound. But this book is very, very nice. And in addition to a lot of great information, there are pieces for a sleeve that you can use, and she has templates for cutting out necklines and armholes to make garments out of her tube technique. And I may, going forward, I may do one of these with you guys. So if enough people are interested in this, you know, after I finish making my pattern, I may in fact try one of these things with the tube in here. I don't know if any of you recognize this dress. This dress was one of the entries in a threads competition a few years ago. And actually there's a picture of Julie Ann wearing this dress. And it's kind of cool because it actually highlights how bias, so you can see how it's fitting the model here, right? So it looks beautiful on her. Let me just make it a little brighter. It looks beautiful on her. And then both authors put the same dress on, and I just want to show you how it looks nice on both of them. So here's Julie Ann on the left and Susan on the right, and you can see that dress looks beautiful on both of them. So very cool book. I may do a project out of it after I finish working on the things I'm working on, but I am using it as a reference to learn bias things. All right, so now that we've taken care of all of that, and I've shown you all of the life-size patterns, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you quickly how I made my straight pattern into a pieced pattern here. Let me just put all this stuff over here. And of course, I tried to find my files to print these out again, and I couldn't. So I'm just going to quickly draw them on here. So these are the original pieces that I used. So I'm literally just going to trace them. And then I'm going to show you how to sort of hack it into pieces. All right, so remember, this is the first top I made, just a scoop neck top. All right, so there's my front. Oh, also, you know what's super exciting? I don't know if any of you get as excited about this as me, but when you get a new piece of paper, a new roll of pattern paper, look how nice and flat it is, because it's not near the curved, you know, the curved core where it's tightly wound onto the bottom of the roll there. It's nice and flat. So I'm enjoying my new roll of paper here. All right, so there's one piece. Let me just do the back here. Okay, and I think I'm going to get rid of these wider seam allowances. Well, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do in a minute. All right, so here's the back. Notice I'm not using the grid to my advantage here. I just plop this down on the diagonal and I'm drawing it. Always use the grid. So I'm not doing what I should be doing right now. See how I did that cockamamie? Like that grid is useless now because I didn't line up the straight of grain with the grid, but we're going to go with it. All right, so this has got 1/4 inch seam allowances. So I am going to mark those up here and right here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do now. So the first thing is I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use purple. So the first thing I did though was I found my center. Let's pretend my center's right here. And I made a V. Oh, Beverly says, sewing books are my guilty pleasure. Not that I feel guilty though. Looks like my next purchase. I really love that book. All right, so see, I'm just going to make a V-neck. So basically, this is what I did to make the V-neck, and I'm not going to fuss with it, but basically I made a simple V-neck on my pattern. So we're going to go with that shape, and we're not going to go with this, because I need the V-neck to make the V front. So what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to extend. I need to find a shorter ruler. Hold on. Here. Okay, so I'm just going to extend. I'm going to measure up, let's say 1.5 inches here and 1.5 inches here. Okay, and then I'm basically going to draw diagonals like this. Okay, so that's how I created the 3-piece front. Okay, so that's how I did that. And when you cut this out, remember, you need to add seam allowances everywhere you cut it out that you're going to sew it back together. So when I cut this out like this, I have to add seam allowances to here and here, right? So I'm just going to make a note, add seam allowance there, seam allowance there, and seam allowance there. I'm not going to physically do it, but you need to put seam allowances in those places where you cut it. Then what I did was, let's take the back, and for now I'm gonna cut off the allowances on the back just to get rid of them. Okay. All right, so now we don't have any seam allowances on the back, so I can literally, I'm going to cut out these pieces on the edge like this. So there's my armhole and my V-neck like this. Whoops. And this piece, I'm literally going to, just going to dash this down so you can see where it is, all the way down like that, something like that, right? So I'm literally going to put it like this. I'm going to overlap it, and you can see that's how I got rid of the side seam. Okay, and then this side over here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dash in oops, I'm not cutting that, I'm cutting this. Okay, so now I've got my other side, and I'm literally going to tape it like this, matching those up. Okay, and then to get the back, what I'm going to do here is I am going to mark where this, so I'm lining it up so I can see here, this is the edge of the pattern under here like that. So I'm going to line up this edge, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to just continue this straight down. like this. Okay, so I haven't added any seam allowances yet, so I can keep it right like that. Then what that's going to do is I can literally tape this here. And then I can cut this off like this. Oh, not like that. Sorry. All right, let me cut the bottom like that. Oops, hold on. Then I'm going to cut it off like this. So see, now I've got this piece to go to the back, and then I can do the same thing over here. I'm going to line up this so it matches. I'm going to lay it right on top like this. Tape it in place. Right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this. And this is going to be like this. Okay, so you can see that matches because we taped it on. And then I'm going to cut that off. So now I've got, oops, my full pattern. Okay, so that is the entire pattern. Okay, so you can see this is the mini version of what I showed you in real life size. So if anybody wants to give that a try, they can give that a try. So that's where I am. Now, the last thing I just want to explain to you is when I sewed, so let's look at what we've done here. We got rid of this and this. These two side seams were going against the bias or through the bias. What did we replace it with? We replaced it with seams that are approaching the bias. This might not be a perfect bias edge, but it's close. And so what I want to show you here is if I match this up 1-to-1 and sew it, I can sew it using a short straight stitch like this. So I'm lining it up like this, you know, after I had seam allowances, obviously, like this. And I'm just going to sew this down, and I'm going to stretch it gently as I sew. And I just want to remind you of the results that we're getting when we do that. So I just want you to look here. Let me get up close here. First, let's look at my armhole. So I think if I finish these armholes, they might be okay. I'm not noticing all the pooling that I was having on the one that has a side seam. So I like the way this is fitting better. I'm going to leave it and see. But what I also want to show you is here, look at how nice and smooth this is laying. Okay, that seam right here, that seam is on the straight edge, sewing through the bias, but on the straight edge. That makes it so much easier to get a nice smooth seam. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And also, if you are joining a bias to a straight edge, I want to show you the difference here. I'm just going to put my table back on. I'm going to get these two pieces to show you. So you can see here, oops. I just want to show you how I got a nice edge. So I folded this in half, okay, and if you notice, this is now, well, if I put it like this, this is now going to be about Well, it's once you sew the center back seam, you can see it's about let me mark it. Maybe it wasn't quite 3/4. It's more like a 1/2 inch. So it's that much shorter on each side. So from here to here, about 1/4 inch really. So that's how I got this, stretching this, easing this in. This is slightly shorter than this, and that's how I got the nice smooth edge there. All right, so please mark the grain line on the pattern I just made. Oh, yes. All right, so the grain line on the pattern I just made is, if this is the center back, let's say, that would be your straight of grain if you were cutting it out on the straight of grain. So if you take a gridded ruler and you line up the boxes with it, so I'm putting the ruler so that this point right here and this point right here, so see it's straight, it's on the 45-degree angle on this ruler, then that would be my grain line. Now it could be that direction, or I can turn it this way and I can have it be this direction. Like this. So there is our bias. So the bias is this way. Boop, boop, boop. And this way. Okay, so you're going to lay the whole thing on the bias. Like that. Just as if you would, you know, the individual pieces. Yep, so that's all the fun I wanted to share with you guys today. You can imagine I'm going to be forging forward to make like a real deal shirt. Not that this is not real deal, but you can see I'm loving the fact that I'm not getting that crinkly under the arm wrinkle. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So I hope you guys are, I hope some people are, you know, sewing along with me. If you are, I'd love to see what you've come up with. So, wait a minute here now. Oh, Vicky says, are the new seams on the straight of grain? They're approaching the straight of grain, Vicky. So if we look, oops, bring this back over here. So if we look at this again, so this is the bias grain line right here. So you can see if I slide this way, you can see the angle is slightly not on the bias, but it's approaching bias and it sews together much nicer. Pat says it is the advanced version of pants that don't have a side seam. Yes, well, you know I am going to be making bias pants. That's going to be the next thing. Of course, I'm going to try to make bias pants, like for real, not the stupid shorts I did the other day or the other time. Mary wants to know if I'm going to make facings for the armhole and neckline. The answer to that, I believe, is going to be no. I think I'm going to finish it with that little knit facing like I did. Let's look at this. See this right here? I used a knit strip, and there's the right side of the fabric. And what I did was I sewed it on, and then I turned it to the wrong side and top stitched it down like a mini facing. That's how I'm going to finish these things. And I'll play with the V neckline, obviously, but I'm just going to do little finishes at the edges. All right, so that's my fun for today. I'm excited to keep going on working on this, so I'm going to sign off. There'll be more fun next Friday on our bias sew along, and next week during Fit Tip Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about a hot topic, and I'm going to call the video let's try unscooping. So instead of scooping the crotch, we're going to unscoop the crotch, because I'm having super success with that, doing the reverse of a scoop. So you're gonna have to wait till Tuesday to see what I'm talking about there. Oh, Christiana wants to know, did you purchase the knit strip? No, I cut myself 1.5 inch strips on the bias, and then I just sewed them. So you can do that. And then the cool thing is you can make it match. All right, so I'm going to sign off now. Thank you guys so much. I have to go check my basement and make sure it's still drying from the rain we got this morning. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciated each and every one of you for stopping in. And I will see you again very soon. Have a great weekend. Vicky wants to know which of those lines goes on the straight of grain of the fabric. All right, let me just show you that one more time. Sorry. Okay, this is the straight of grain, like it would be on any top, you know, so like let's say we were cutting this on the fold, right? You would cut it on the fold, that would be your straight of grain. And then this X would be the bias grain line going in either direction. So you could put it like this on the bias, or you could put it like that on the bias. So I hope that answers your question, Vicky, on that. The straight of grain would be the straight up and down, like you would traditionally see it. All right. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you again very soon. Have a wonderful weekend.